Good morning. You know the joke about this guy who makes Aliyah, he comes to Israel, and he comes to the phone company, and he says, I'd like to get my phone installed. And this is years ago, of course, and they tell him, okay, they look at the calendar, they say, we could be there in 3 months from now. They give him a date to come install his phone line. And he says, are you going to come in the morning or the afternoon? And they say, what difference does it make? It's in 3 months from now. He said, I'm just asking because the electrician's coming to hook up the electricity in the morning. Israel is known for its bureaucracy. The post office, the banks, the telephone lines, everything works very slow in Israel. But remarkably, when it comes to distributing this vaccine for COVID-19, Israel is leading the world with over 150 vaccinations done each and every day. On New Year's Day, Bibi Netanyahu took a picture with the 1 millionth citizen that was vaccinated in Israel. And in addition to that, at the present point, per capita, Israel has vaccinated 12% of its population, as opposed to here in the United States, where we vaccinated approximately 1%. And the entire world is remarking at the rapid speed in which Israel is vaccinating its citizens, and predicting that Israel will be the first country in the world to reach herd immunity, and signaling that we all need to learn from Israel how to administer the vaccinations in the quickest possible way to save as many lives as possible. And the question is, how is it that a country that's known for its bureaucracy, when it came to this vaccination, is leading the world and setting an example for the entire world? And I think it goes back to this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion tells the story of Pharaoh. A new king arose in Egypt that did not know Joseph and began to impose harsh edicts against the Jews, enslaving all the Jewish people. And here we have 3 stories within this parsha, 3 life-saving stories. The first one is when Pharaoh says that all Jewish babies, boys, must be drowned in the Nile. It says that the Jewish midwives defy Pharaoh, risk their lives, and refuse to drown the Jewish babies. They say, "V'techayena yeladim." And this is the first example of the Jewish model of saving lives at all costs, even at great personal risk. The Jewish midwives, Shifra and Pua, risked their lives to defy the evil edict of Pharaoh and not drown the babies, but to rescue the babies. The second example, of course, is when Moses' mother puts him in the wicker basket into the Nile. His sister Miriam stands at a distance to watch over her baby brother, not knowing what the outcome would be, but ultimately when she sees the daughter of Pharaoh coming to bathe in the Nile, she collaborates with her to rescue her baby brother. And again, a second example of a young Jewish girl watching over her baby brother to rescue and save his life. And the third example is when Moses himself, being raised in the Egyptian palace, goes out one day and sees an Egyptian man beating a Jew. It says he looks this way and he looks that way, and he sees there is no man. And it doesn't mean only literally that he didn't see anyone watching him, so therefore he killed the Egyptian and saved the Jew who was being beaten by the Egyptian taskmaster, because we know the next day he was accused of killing an Egyptian. He was seen. But rather the commentaries say he looked this way and that way and he saw there was no man, there was no one else to stand up to save this Jew. And therefore he took it upon himself, again, to risk his life and save the Jew from the Egyptian, which ultimately led to him having to flee Egypt as a fugitive because Pharaoh wanted to kill him because he killed an Egyptian to save a Jew. And these 3 stories, which occur at the very inception of the birth of the Jewish nation in Parsha Shemos, when we begin to become a nation, set the paradigm for all of Jewish history. That as Jews, we never stand by idly. When we have an opportunity to save a life, whatever it takes, even at great personal risk and cost, we always run to save a life. And I think that's why, despite Israel's known bureaucracy, when it comes to saving lives, they work at the greatest speed and alacrity, because we as Jews know the value of saving another life, and therefore we do everything. We move heaven and earth to save lives. And indeed, we're witnessing that before our very eyes today. And I think there are three practical examples of what Israel did that the world can learn from. The first thing, it was widely reported in the news that Israel, when it struck a deal with Pfizer to buy the vaccinations, it wanted large quantities and it wanted it quickly. And so therefore, it paid, according to some reports, double the cost. It offered double the cost of the vaccinations to Pfizer to get large quantities and to be the first ones to get it. The second thing Israel did is it opened up centers that administer the vaccine 24/7. We read stories here in the United States of elderly people waiting in line all night for the clinics to open up to get their vaccination. In Israel, there are centers that are administering vaccinations all hours of the day and night, 24/7. The third one, I just read a report in the news that, these vaccines have a shelf life. Once they're thawed and defrosted from very deep cold temperatures, they only have like 6 hours before they could be administered. And if there are leftover doses, they have to be thrown out. And then there are many stories of places that they had to throw out vaccines. Well, in Israel, there was a clinic and they had a little left over and they went through all of the patients that had come, all the people for vaccination. And the nurse ran out into the street and she started yelling to the people at the bus stop, "You need a vaccination? Come on in, we have extra." And then she saw a pizza delivery guy. She said, "Hey, pizza delivery guy, you need a vaccination? Come on in." And brought in random people from the street just not to throw out even one drop of this life-saving vaccination. That is what we should be proud of as Jews and learn from this week's Torah portion and from what the world is witnessing, that as Jews, we have to remember, and we always remember, that the value of a human life is the greatest infinite value, and therefore we must do everything to make sure that we can save as many lives as possible, because as the Talmud says, whoever saves one life, it's as though they saved an entire world. Have a wonderful day.